Stay savage, your boy Shino Bentro. What's poppin'? Today we are back. We always back. I mean, I've been dropping videos, and that's a fact, and you can't lie. I've been getting it, and that's a rap. But you know, I'm always in the trap, ducking the field. You will get clapped. I don't know. Let me stop that. But oh, wait, that rhymed too. Anyways, today we're gonna be talking about Urashiki, basically Otsutsuki backstory and some shit. You know, because a lot of people been asking me for a little bit more backstory about them. So we gonna get into the Japanese folklore about Urashiki, basically what he's based off in the Japanese folklore and shit like that. So if you guys are excited about today's video, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for daily content. One thing I would like to let you guys know that your Shino X Sakura shirts are still around. They're up for 4 days left. I mean, the campaign relaunched because you guys wanted them so much that they came back, and I was actually pretty surprised that they re-popped up. A lot of people thinking I'm relaunching the campaign, but you guys know when the demand is high for something, Teespring automatically brings it back or some shit like that, and they brought it back. So you know, we gotta get it while you can. I mean, obviously a lot of people in the comment section kept asking for it, but now it's here. So without further ado, let's get into Urashiki's backstory and what he's based off in Japanese mythology. So with that being said, finally, let's get it.
All of these people, they down to ride. Look in my eyes. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
Alright, so before we get in further context, we're going to talk about some key factors, right? We're going to talk about Urashiki. Alright, so let's take the Yura, and we're going to take that portion of his name. That's a point, so keep that in mind. Urashiki, we're gonna keep that for later. Now, obviously, he's supposed to be a fisherman. He's based off of a fisherman. Obviously, that's why you see him using the red thread, or you see him having the pole, which is supposed to be resembling a fishing pole, not exactly him being a regular person. You know, most people see that he would have that staff. They might think of it like on some monkey staff, some Wukong type shit, but that's not the case. My boy is literally a fisherman, so that's one thing that to be noted. Now, if you guys remember when he used that box that opened up the palace to the dragon palace and basically froze Toneri for 10,000 years, that is something else that you want to know. Like, keep all these little things in mind when we get into the details of his folklore, because when you start hearing what I'm about to read to you guys are gonna be like, whoa, okay, this shit's starting to make sense. Yo, wait, this is making too much sense. Like, this shit is ridiculous. So without further ado, let's continue into the folklore. Alright, so Urashiki is based off of the Japanese folktale character Urashima. Now, if you guys don't know too much about him, he's from a fairy tale. He's a typical version of a modern fisherman who is rewarded for rescuing a turtle. Now, who else that we know is a fisherman? Urashiki. He's based off a fisherman. If you guys remember when I said something about him basically freezing up Toneri, he essentially, you know, went out there, he threw that red thread, which would be the resemblance of a fisherman's line. If you guys seen his pole, you know, he kind of had it just like behind him in a sense, and that's how he froze him. Now, mention, he's actually based off a fisherman, and that's where we see the design for Urashiki come about. We see him basically being this fisherman in design, and basically that's kind of where his main style and his main characteristics come from. Now, let's talk about him rescuing a turtle. He's rewarded for rescuing a turtle, and he carried it back to the dragon palace on his back, which lies beneath the sea. Now, a lot of people are wondering, oh shit, 10,000 years in the dragon palace. He basically told Toneri, hey, stay in the dragon palace for 10,000 years, you could chill there. Now, one thing's weird about this, right? So obviously we know that Toneri is not under the sea. He is definitely on land, you know what I'm saying? Well, the moon per se. Well, I guess that would be considered land. But he's on the moon. So like, he frozen this man for 10,000 years in the dragon palace. He said enjoy the dragon palace for 10,000 years. So let's go in a little bit more detail here. How can he say, let's go into the world of the Dragon Palace for 10,000 years? Because, you know, if he goes into the world of Dragon for 10,000 years, obviously he's the Otsutsuki. He's lived for thousands and thousands of years. Clearly, he can live for a long time. Now, if Urashima is just basically a typical Japanese character, a Japanese hero in a fairy tale, obviously, at some point or another, he will die after being in this Dragon Palace for 10,000 years, right? Well, in this story, that is not the case. There, he is entertained by the Princess Orihime as a reward. He spends what he believes to be a few short days, but on returning home, he finds himself there for 300 years. He basically was in the Dragon Palace for 300 years, and when he returned back to the mainland, returned back to his home, he was gone for 300 years. That means the whole time he was chilling in the Dragon Palace, he was gone for 300 years. So this is a future prediction for Boruto. Obviously, if Toneri is frozen for what to be said, let's gonna say what, 10,000 years. If a few short days is 300 years, that means Toneri is only gonna be frozen for maybe 2 to 3 months, maybe 4 or 5 to be exact. And then once he's unfrozen, he's gonna come completely out. And obviously by the time, you know, he's unfrozen, Urashiki thinks that his plan and all of this shit's gonna be passed over, and he's gonna be and attacked everybody, or, you know, basically they're gonna be able to take out Boruto, take out Naruto and Sasuke, and take the remaining pieces of the Tree of Life back, or essentially, you know, getting rid of the remains of Kaguya, essentially. Alright, but on returning to the mainland, obviously something else is a catch, right? So he returned with this mysterious box that he received from Orihime. Essentially, that this box was a reward, but he was warned never to open this box. So obviously this box maybe had the time that he originally lost, but basically going inside of the Dragon Palace, because basically they told him never open this box. But when he opened this box, he turned into an old man. Now, what do we know about this box? We seen Urashiki from Boruto open up a box, essentially pulling this box out of his pocket, throwing the box on the ground and dropping it, and guess who turned into stone? Guess who got frozen in the palace of the dragon for 10,000 years? Toneri Otsutsuki. This is something that we seen Urashiki do. Like, obviously Urashiki is basically based off of this character Urashima, because if you think about it, everything adds up. One, he's a fisherman, he goes into the Dragon Palace, he actually freezes Toneri into the Dragon Palace for 10,000 years, but we also see that he is involved with time, which is something that we see a lot of Otsutsuki and a lot of members that uses the Rinnegan, uses the Tentegan. We see them involving themselves in time, and they live for long periods of time. And one, Urashiki doesn't look like an old man. Obviously he looks like he might be middle-aged, but clearly that's due to the fact that he never opened the box. But in this story, it's a little bit different. Obviously they're their own twist. Also, the boxes are basically a representation of the time that he lost. You know, this was pretty much his prize. You know, if you follow our rules, you don't open this box, you know, you probably stay young forever, you'll still stay immortal forever, essentially keeping your old figure. But he opened the box because he was appalled, and he was kind of scared to why as though everything was in the future, why he was 300 years in the future versus, you know, only being in the palace with Orihime for a short few amount of days. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that really long. Now, if you look at some iconic elements in the modern version of a relatively recent version of the Japanese fairy tale, there's a lot of different moments where he's portrayed going into the Dragon Palace on a boat, but it's shown that he's going into a different world. He's going into a different dimension with the princess, and it's obviously really different because Orihime originally in the story was under the water, but if you look at the modern versions, it shows that she was in a different world, like obviously different dimensions or a different planet. Now, one thing that we know about Urashiki already is that he appeared in space with Toneri, and we know that he came from the main branch of the Otsutsuki lineage. So clearly this has some indications and some backstories that connects with Urashiki and Urashima, because if you think about it, Urashima is basically this kid or this fisherman who goes into a different world by accident, stumbling across it from actually helping somebody, and then he's granted immortality. Now, they told him if he keeps this box along his side, you know what I'm saying, he don't open it, don't open it ever, you know what I'm saying, because it is basically all the time that he lost. But he didn't listen, he didn't heed their warning, and once he opened the box, he turned old. This is something we see Urashiki do, but also when he dropped the box and he threw it on Toneri. That way all the years that basically fell dark to him basically hit Toneri. You didn't see him actually open the box himself. You know, you see him take the box out of his pocket, he drops it on the ground, he tells Toneri what he has to tell him, but then he takes a step back, you know, clearly indicating that he doesn't want to get caught by his own time that he lost. Now, I think this concept is really dope because, like I said about the princess Orihime, she essentially was in a different dimension. She was in her own little like world, you know what I'm saying, and that's one thing that we see that's commonly popping up all over the Boruto universe. We see a lot of different people always being in these different dimensions. We hear a lot about the different Otsutsukis who live in the different dimensions. You know, obviously Kaguya, she created her own dimension. You know, she basically amassed a lot of chakra from the truth-seeking orb. You know what I'm saying? She was basically making an army, you know, while dipping in and out dimensions. And when you saw when she fought against Naruto and Sasuke and the rest of Team 7, clearly she was jumping in between worlds and she was taking them with her. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty obvious that we're going to see some more Otsutsukis come from different worlds or even different dimensions. And the fact that like his story connects with that, and it also shows how the main branch of the Otsutsukis kept themselves hidden for 1,000 years. It shows like there's another world, there's another place. Now maybe this princess will reappear in the Boruto universe, because that'll be really interesting to see a Urashiki appear, you know what I'm saying, because clearly, you know, Urashiki is Urashima from the Japanese folklore, and there's a lot of other Japanese folklore regarding the other shikis if you guys would like to see those. Clearly, I'm looking at these, and obviously this is a weird style of video. Obviously, I did this back when I did the new way, going in depth about the mystical beast, basically how it feeds off of dream and dark energy and shit like that. Obviously, we bringing it back. I said obviously too many times, but one thing's for certain. Clearly, I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to know more about the history of them, and clearly, I want you guys to know it with me. I think it's really dope that we see all these different shikis have some type of folklore and some type of backstory. Now, I feel as though at some point or another, all these stories are going to connect, and I feel like these may lead us into the pathway of finding out who is the main branch of the Otsutsuki clan, and essentially you can go and find out who was like the person who actually sent them out. Obviously, everybody's saying Urashiki may be the weaker one. He may not be the strongest one in the trio. Clearly, we don't know too much about him. We don't know what's going to transpire with him, but clearly all the other ones do have some folklore, and they all seem to have something to do with Japanese mythology and shit like that. So clearly, you know, we got to figure out what's going on with it. It's definitely a different style of video. Like I said, I've done it before. If there's any other characters you would like to see me do this on for the future of Boruto, let me know in the comment section below. I will be making a video about Kinshiki as well as Momoshiki. Just look for those in later dates. Honestly, let me know your personal thoughts and personal opinions about this, because one thing is certain, he's definitely connected to Urashima. Obviously, the Dragon Palace, him being a fisherman, the box basically having his time in it. You know, obviously he dropped the same box on Toneri, so how can this not add up? Like, obviously I may explain it a little roughly, but that's due to the nature of this kind of video. Like, obviously I'm not that technical guy. I just like to give my personal thoughts and personal opinions, but at this point in time, we talking about some shit that was written down in a story that's been told over centuries and centuries, and it's basically connecting with Boruto. So let me know your personal thoughts and personal opinions. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up. With that being said, if you're new to the channel, subscribe for daily content, and with that being said, finally, I hope you guys have a great day, and until next time, see you guys later. Bye.